When Marc Marquez made the move to Ducati for the 2024 season, a lot of people had doubts. They wondered if age, past injuries, and the challenge of adjusting to a new bike would hold him back. After years of struggling at Honda, could the six-time MotoGP champ really find his form again? Could he handle the GP25 better than Ducati's star rider Francesco Bagnaia? And maybe the biggest question, was it even possible for him to rewrite his legacy? Now, 11 rounds into the 2025 MotoGP season, those questions aren't just answered, they've been completely shut down. The German Grand Prix at the Sachsenring, a track where Marquez has always excelled, was expected to be close. But what actually happened was a clear and powerful reminder of what he's capable of. At 32 years old, now in Ducati Red, Marquez didn't just come back, he may be better than he's ever been. His weekend in Germany was nearly perfect. He was fastest in qualifying, won the sprint race in the rain despite a mistake in turn 1, and then led every single lap of Sunday's 30-lap Grand Prix. He finished with a 6.380 second lead over his brother Alex Marquez and more than 25 seconds ahead of riders like Jack Miller. But what really caught everyone off guard came after the race. Marquez said, "I was not on my limit." He talked about how he focused on controlling the race and preserving his tyres on the slick track. "I just tried to manage the tyres from the beginning because I knew the race was super long. It's true that in the end the tyres dropped more than I expected, but even like this I felt comfortable." His fastest lap during the race was a 1 minute 20.704 seconds, almost a full second slower than his best time in qualifying. He never went all out, instead he stayed smooth and precise, hitting every line just right. "I was in a perfect line in the correct way in every corner because I was not on my limit. My limit was 1 minute 20.4 seconds, 1 minute 20.3 seconds, as I showed in practice." And his dominance wasn't just limited to the Grand Prix. In the sprint race, he bounced back from an early mistake, climbing from 5th place to snatch the win on the final lap. That result also marked his 4th straight weekend, scoring the maximum 37 points, something he'd never done before. Let's take a second to really appreciate the scale of what Marc Marquez is pulling off in 2025. After 11 rounds, he's sitting at the top of the standings with an incredible 344 points. That's an average of 31.3 points per round. For a bit of context, Jorge Martin averaged 25.4 points per round in 2024, and Pecco Bagnaia had 24.35 in 2023. Even during Marquez's iconic 2019 season, he averaged 29.4 points. So right now, at 31.3, he's on track for what could easily be the most dominant season of his career. He's already bagged 7 Grand Prix wins and has taken 10 out of 11 sprint races, both records under the current format. He's just 4 GP victories away from matching Pecco's total from last year. Back in 2019, Marquez racked up a record 420 points. If he keeps this pace, he's projected to end the 2025 season with close to 700 points, nearly 300 more than the current all-time record. That's not just impressive, it's mind-blowing. To show just how strong his grip on the championship is, Marc is 83 points ahead of his brother Alex, who's in 2nd place, and 147 clear of teammate Pecco. He could skip the next 2 rounds entirely and still be leading the standings. What makes this level of domination even more impressive is how fast he got used to the Ducati GP25. After a decade riding Honda's RC213V, switching to the Ducati meant learning a completely different machine. The GP25 has more power, different electronics, and it behaves differently in braking and acceleration. But Marquez adjusted fast. He refined his style, becoming smoother and more accurate without depending so much on physical strength. "I changed my riding style to be a bit smooth and less physical," he said after the race. "The way to ride the Ducati is a big difference compared to the Honda, but also the fact I had the injury in my arm and all these things, I had to adapt." It's not just about how fast he goes, it's how smart he races. In Germany, he skipped a soft tyre time attack on Friday so he could focus on getting the electronics dialed in and running race simulations on the medium rear. I prefer to prepare for the race, he said. I was riding with that medium rear tyre to prepare, especially the electronics, the maps, because they are crucial at this racetrack. That strategy paid off big time. While riders like Fabio Di Giannantonio and Marco Bezzecchi were lighting up the timing charts early on, Marquez just kept building up pace. By lap 6 of Sunday's race, he had already pulled out a gap of over a second, and when Di Giannantonio went down, Marquez was more than 3 seconds ahead and still wasn't pushing flat out. If there's one big side story to Marquez's 2025 domination, it's the slow collapse of Pecco Bagnaия's chances of taking back the MotoGP title. On paper, his weekend at the Sachsenring looked decent. He ended up on the podium, but in reality, it was all about damage control. He started 11th in qualifying, finished 12th in the sprint, and only landed 3rd on Sunday because several riders ahead of him crashed out. Now, he's 147 points behind Marquez, and the road back isn't looking promising. Pecco hasn't beaten Marquez in a straight-up dry race all season. The only times he's finished ahead were in Austin and Jerez, and that was only because Marquez crashed in both. People inside the team say Pecco is a couple of steps behind. Gavin Emmett, reporting from inside Pecco's garage, said he's definitely looking more settled than at the beginning of the year, but still, he just can't match Marquez. And even if he gets back to his best, he's still got to deal with trying to beat Marc on this version of the Ducati. Now there's even talk that Pecco might think about leaving Ducati, possibly heading to Yamaha to get out from under Marquez's shadow. It would be a bold move, but not unprecedented. Other former teammates of Marquez have had to make similar decisions in the past. There's also a psychological side to what Marquez is doing this year. As Matt Oxley put it, he's fighting a different kind of battle in 2025, not with fear of crashing, but with the temptation to push harder than he needs to. It's about knowing when to hold back. Oxley wrote, "He's kind of fighting his demons, isn't he?" And that feels spot on. At Sachsenring, he went against Ducati boss Gigi Dall'Igna's warning to be careful at turn 11. Marquez didn't ease off, he went full attack, took pole, won both races, and once again showed that he trusts his gut more than anything else. Even Ducati team manager David Tardozzi admitted that Marquez's biggest weakness is wanting more all the time. He puts in an extreme amount of work with his engineer, but that's also what makes him so intimidating. So here's the big question. Is this Marquez's best MotoGP season ever? If he stays fit, the numbers will say yes. But beyond the stats, there's more to the story. Back in 2019, Marquez was at the peak of his physical powers. He was riding a bike built around his style, fully fit, and completely dominant. Fast forward to 2025, he's now 32, has gone through 4 surgeries, and had to relearn everything on a totally different machine. On top of that, he's doing it in the toughest version of MotoGP yet, the sprint era. It's a format that's harsher on tyres, physically demanding, and mentally draining. And still, Marquez is controlling the championship like never before. He summed it up perfectly. To achieve my 200th GP with a victory means still we are at a very good level. So I will try to keep going and especially keep with the same passion. This will be the key point. Now look at how that stacks up against the sports legends. Rossi won his last title at 30. Lorenzo was done by 32. Stoner walked away at 27. Meanwhile, Marquez at 32 is closing in on matching Rossi's 7 Premier Class titles. And he's doing it in an era that has more races, more pressure, and a lot less room for mistakes. If Marquez goes on to win the 2025 title, which is looking more likely by the day, he'll hit a list of milestones that cements his legacy as one of the all-time greats. He'd join Rossi with 7 top-class championships, tying a number many thought would never be reached again. And he'd do it as the oldest MotoGP world champion of the modern era, surpassing both Rossi and Lorenzo in age when they last stood at the top. Marquez is also on pace to break the record for most sprint race wins in a single season. He's already passed Jorge Martin's previous record of 9, with 10 sprint victories out of just 11 rounds. He now sits second on the all-time Premier Class wins list with 69, trailing only Valentino Rossi. And while Rossi's career total of 6,357 points might still take a few more seasons to reach, Marquez has already racked up 4,480, and at this rate, even that milestone seems possible. As the second half of the season kicks off this weekend in Brno, the expectation is that Marquez will only stretch his lead further, barring any major setbacks. But more than just the numbers, what's becoming more apparent is the psychological shift. Marquez isn't just back, he's evolving. Week by week, he and Ducati are sharpening their race execution, managing tyres better, controlling pace more effectively, and mastering every aspect of the race weekend. As Matt Oxley pointed out, 2026 could be even scarier. With a full season of Ducati experience under his belt, Marquez could unlock another level. That thought alone has to unsettle the rest of the paddock. And if Ducati manages to carry this momentum into the 2026 rule changes, this might just be the beginning of a new era, one dominated by Marquez in red. Team manager Davide Tardozzi summed it up best. "I hope Marc stays at Ducati until the end of his career." Right now, Marquez is pushing the limits of what's considered possible on a bike that supposedly wasn't designed for him, and doing it at an age when most MotoGP champions start to fade. With rivals falling behind, what Marquez is doing in 2025 is more than just a return to form. It's a statement. From smart tyre strategies to staying in control during unpredictable races, from sprint race comebacks to Sunday domination without even needing to go flat out, every race adds to what's shaping up to be one of the greatest seasons MotoGP has ever seen. He's not just chasing another title, he's chasing legacy. And 2025 might be the year he locks it in for good.